Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to ask you a simple question. That question is, what is the one fundamental understanding we should have every morning when we open our eyes? That fundamental understanding should be that 99.9% of what we are presented as truth is a complete lie. We are told that we live on a spinning ball flying through space at infinitesimal speeds in multiple directions all at once, when in fact the complete antithesis is true. We are taught that we are created out of a big bang where everything came from nothing instantaneously all at once, meaning we are nothing more than sheer happenstance and that there is no creator, when the complete opposite and antithesis is true. Look at the morals presented to us in our society on a day-to-day basis, from infanticide, transgender movement, using hormone blockers on children, allowing children to choose their gender, teaching our children about sexual education in kindergarten. All of this, the complete antithesis, is morally sound. Now, with all of this being said, the majority of people watching this video do agree with me on this matter. We have to ask ourselves, why and how have we come to the state of affairs that we find ourselves in? And the simple fact of the matter is, this was all engineered long ago. And everything that we are taught from birth is program. It is a program to rip away everything that makes us human. A lot of people refer to this as the light and the dark, the good and the evil. And the simple fact of the matter is, every human being is born with the instinct of knowing not to wrong their fellow human. It's called a conscience. And unless you are mentally deficient, everybody has one. And even those of us without a conscience, I am a firm believer, are here for a reason. However, we will get into that in a minute. The bigger point that I need to make is, society has been designed to strip away humanity from us. Now, the reason being is because if you understand what light and darkness really are, light and darkness are simply opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to frequency. And that is all light is. So, by lowering our moral values and our moral fortitude as a human being, you actually lower the frequency that our bodies emit. In turn, making it harder for us to communicate with the natural world around us. Because you see, the earth operates at a frequency known as the Schumann resonance. And the human body should, if acting in its natural state, be in harmony with the Schumann resonance. However, if you look at the programming that has been placed upon humanity since going back for I don't even know how long, they are constantly lowering our frequency in order to affect the Schumann resonance of the earth, and in turn remove the earth out of the frequency range that it's in right now, ultimately turning it into a more immoral place, a darker place. And that is what you are witnessing now in society day to day. People feed off of hurting each other now. I want you guys to just look at Twitter as a simple example of this. When we interact through that social media platform, we don't see people as human beings, okay? We hurl insults left and right without ever thinking that actually affects the person reading it, okay? In turn, that lowers that person's frequency as well as ours. And in turn, that makes that person more likely to exhibit the same behavior towards his fellow human being, perpetuating this cycle until you get to the point that we are today, where people in society are openly advocating for killing a child after it's been born and calling it abortion. Not that abortion's right to begin with, but we went from the argument of my body, my choice, to my child, I have the right to kill them in less than a year. And that is the amount that this programming is able to alter us so quickly that it is scary. So you have to ask yourself, why have they done this, and what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal of all of this is to make us think that life is 100% meaningless. Now, I told you in the beginning of this video that everything we are presented, the truth of the matter is, the antithesis of that is more than likely what's really going on. So when they tell you that you live on a spinning ball flying through space, the complete opposite is probably true. Based on all observational facts and evidence I've seen, that's the case. Everything's observably flat. That's not what is important about that matter, okay? As soon as you come to the realization of the earth being flat, you have to ask yourself, why does this matter, and why did they lie about it? Well, they lied about it because if the earth was flat and actually is the center of everything and is a self-contained system, that means that there had to have been a creator. And that ultimately means that we are here for a reason. Now, if you can remove that reality from society, what do you think that accomplishes? Well, how do you think people would act if they knew there was a creator sitting above us on his throne with us at his footstool, looking down on us, observing our every action? Do you think for a moment that there would be rape, adultery, incest, abortion? Yes, there may be all these things, but they would happen a lot less frequently, okay? And in turn, the frequency that we resonate would rise. And it's a proven fact. The higher your frequency is, the better mood you have, the more moral of a person you are, the more charismatic you are. And if you put a group of these people together, you can actually measure the change in the environment around them. For example, if you take somebody who has a high frequency and you tell them to pour a glass of water and interact with this water, right? And then you take microscopic pictures of this water at an elemental level, you will actually see that the crystalline structure of the water that came in contact with the person with a higher frequency will structure itself in a very symmetrical, beautiful pattern, okay? However, if you take somebody who's in a very bad mood, who's a very immoral person, who has a very low frequency, and you tell them to interact with that same water, okay? Same water out of the same tap, okay? And you tell them to interact with it, the crystalline structure of that water, A, won't be symmetrical, B, will be scattered all over the place and look horrendous. It just doesn't look appealing. Again, the light and the dark. Now, let's think about our bodies for a moment. Our bodies are predominantly made out of what? Water. Think about the destruction that you are doing to your own body by not allowing the water in your body to align itself properly into these symmetrical crystallized structures that just advocate good health in general based upon what science has to say. But what this tells you is there is something deeper at work in this world that we do not understand, And if you look at what the system around us is trying to do, it should be very obvious that we should be seeking to move in the opposite direction. Because let's be honest with ourselves. If we keep moving in the direction we're moving, all character, moral value, everything is going to be gone. We are living in Sodom and Gomorrah, my friends, and it didn't turn out too well for them, now did it? All I'm saying is there is a fundamental truth to behold, and that truth is everything you've been told is a lie. And once you can address that and realize that as fact, you will realize a lot of what you are presented in this world around you is nothing more than a detour. It's nothing more than a way to take you down a road you shouldn't be going down. And I'm even willing to venture that there are people that interact with us on a day-to-day basis that are completely removed from the human equation. And I've talked about this before. I refer to them as NPCs. Now, like I said before, people that don't have a conscience still have a place in this world. I never said it was a good place. I never said they were here for good reasons. But if you look at people like Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, people like Charles Manson, that alter culture that become cult classics, that become figures, whether they're infamous or famous. You know, you could say either about Charles Manson depending on who you are and how you perceive him. But what I'm getting at is these people may very well not be the same as you and I. Now, we all know that there's a mental deficiency there, and I'm going to take things a step further and say that what's missing in those people is a soul. And if you believe, like I do, that we aren't alone on this plane of existence, in other words, there are entities that are more than likely manipulating society, I think they work through vessels that are the NPC. Now, let's say that the NPC is not necessarily inhabited at all times by this entity, but it would be very easy to give them a base programming to live a day-to-day life. But if they lack all morals, then it would be very easy to explain why we have a certain segment of society that has no problem with committing atrocities like Charles Manson and Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, etc. What these people accomplish is they lower the frequency of everybody around them. And not only that, but they inspire acts of attrition against their fellow man that most humans would never even fathom. Now, there's one thing that you can never destroy, and that is an idea. And that is why an idea is not only the most powerful tool in the human arsenal, it is also the most dangerous. Because even the most moral person can be overcome with an idea of evil if it is given enough time to plant root and grow. Now, the only way for you to overcome these seeds of evil that are being planted in you on a day-to-day basis is to weed the garden, so to speak, and understand that you yourself are not exempt from being corrupted. I'm not a perfect person by any means, and I find myself fighting these urges and corruptions on a day-to-day basis, but I recognize they're there, and I don't let them control my life. And that's all I can really say on this. I'd like to thank my new subscriber for recommending this topic, man. It's something that I've wanted to talk about for a while. I just haven't been able to really put into words. And that's all I got for you today, guys. God bless and have a great morning. Be talking to you soon.